Roll call.
Chisel. Here. Neal.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Zittergren.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to approach the council, anything that is not on the agendas?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Thomas Hanson, 3469 Locust Road, Decorah.
Thank you.
On the 5th of September 2019, in a city council meeting discussing Decorah's flag policy in reference to the Winship County Republican Party's Constitution Day parade, Councilwoman Neal stated, and I quote, "We have a flag that represents the ideals of our nation. It is the American flag. And any other flag used to do that is, to me, discounting the significance of our American flag and what it means." Further on in the discussion, when I stated this nation was founded upon equality and justice, is that not what Decorah wants to promote? Councilwoman Bergen responded, "I agree. And I think from my perspective, sitting at this table, the best way to do that is to fly the American flag." The flag policy they both voted for in February of 2020 did just the opposite by giving one community group the right to fly their flag during their celebration on public property while denying it even to others that support that group's right to do so. On the 16th of September of this year, at the encouragement of the Decorah city manager to challenge the policy if I believe it to be unconstitutional, I exercised my right of free speech in protest of this arbitrary policy by flying my flag on the same public property. After balking on the original charges, the city decided to charge me with not obtaining a sidewalk dining and retail sales permit. I have now applied for that permit. And if it comes before this council, I encourage all of you to vote for it so that we may now fly the flags we wish to celebrate the historic and seasonal events that are important to our group. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jared Ahmad, and I'm going to have Andy introduce.
Thank you, Mayor. It is my pleasure to introduce my friend, Jared Abed, Luther College Student Senate President. My family was introduced to Jared through Luther's Friendship Program, which connects international students with local families, a program I would highly recommend for anybody. During a recent conversation, Jared expressed interest in city government. I checked with Mayor Borowski about inviting him to a meeting. As some of you remember, the Luther College Student Senate used to have a liaison that came to city council meetings. We're not proposing to reinstate that tonight. However, we want to make sure that you know that there are students like Jared who are willing and able to serve you if you want to reach out to them in times of question. So, Jared?
Thank you. Evening, Decorah City Council. My name is Jawad Afroz Ahmed. I am in my junior year at Luther College pursuing my bachelor's degree in biochemistry. And I am the Luther College Student Senate President for the 2023-24 academic year. I am extremely honored to have been extended an invitation to this meeting through Andy Nimrod, the Decorah Parks and Recreation Director. As Andy's mentioned, his family and I were brought together through our institution's Friendship Family Program, and it has proved to be a wonderful experience. As this is our first interaction, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I am from Bangladesh, where I grew up in the capital city of Dhaka, a city of roughly 23 million people. Not too many extra faces to remember than our community here. Needless to say, assimilating to a small town in Iowa has been a new frontier, yet I have felt at ease from the friendly faces and the warm greetings as I walk through downtown or hike up Phelps Park. It reminds me of the tight-knit neighborhood where I grew up, where the local grocery store owner has known me since the time my parents brought me home for the first time. As a Luther College student, I have found myself embedded in the community throughout all my interactions, whether it be a friendly chat with Eric from Hometown Taxi on my way to Walmart, or being in awe of the architecture of the courthouse right before my driving test. This fall has been an amazing display of vibrance of both our community and the magic of the Driftless region. Luther students have found ourselves in the homecoming parade, the Culture Fest, and at Driftless Jazz. We felt supported by the community when hosting our families during family weekend, and hope to have extended a similar arm when we opened up our residence halls for trick-or-treating. Our presence in the Decorah community is intrinsic to the Luther College experience, and the people of Decorah are our strongest supporters in making this happen. I would like to conclude by reiterating my appreciation for this opportunity to present myself as a student representative of Luther College and establish myself as a resource for Decorah City as much as I am for Luther. I am more than happy to come back and provide student insight on discussions pertaining to Luther's presence within Decorah, whether that be reports or just coming up to have a chat. You can reach out to Andy if you don't know where to find me, or reach out to me if you don't know where to find Andy. Once again, thank you so much, and I am open to any questions from the City Council. I yield my time.
You might as well stay up here a minute.
Cool.
Well, you're welcome here. You're welcome here anytime. And you need to bring information from Luther or vice versa. Any comment from council?
I'm thrilled you're here.
Thank you for
Just
having me.
thank you for coming. No,
Yep.
that was great.
I hope Andy does a better job of being an international host family than I did. It was really good, and then we just kind of lost touch. So get on his back if he's not.
Yeah, I'll be there at his Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
There's
Thank
an
you.
appropriate concern that you want to bring to us, feel free to come back first or third Mondays.
And then, would it still be appropriate to go through Andy for that? Does that seem okay for y'all?
Sure. That's great if you want to do that,
Or just, okay,
or just show up.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
Whatever makes you
Either
feel
way.
comfortable.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
See y'all.
Okay, police officer recognition. Chief Dine?
If I get Sergeant Van Gundy and his wife and boys to come up front here. There are over 356,000 cardiac arrests that occur outside of a hospital setting in this nation annually. On September 27th, 2023, at around 6:01 in the morning, a medical call was initiated for a 68-year-old male reportedly unresponsive at a business in Decorah. Fortunately, people were around and they immediately made the call for help and began CPR. Decorah Police Sergeant Dustin Van Gundy and Deputy Byron Hook arrived on the scene, relieved bystanders, and took over CPR. It should be noted that though 65% of people in the United States say they have received CPR training at some point in their lives, only 18% are up to date with their training, and only about 2.5% of the population gets annual training in CPR. As Sergeant Van Gundy and Deputy Hook continued with CPR, Deputy Lance Peters and Trooper Jared Root arrived on scene to assist. High-quality CPR can be exhausting. Depth of compressions and consistent rhythm are important factors in delivering high-quality, life-saving CPR. It is truly a fight for the life of somebody. Medical staff was on scene within minutes, but the fight was not over. Medical staff worked diligently locally and then through air transport to another facility to fight to save the life of this individual. Survival rates for out-of-hospital cardiac arrest is only about 5 to 10%. 5 to 10 people out of 100 survive. So if you flip that math, that means that 90 to 95 persons do not survive. High-quality CPR is the primary component in influencing survival from cardiac arrest. Chest compressions are the priority in CPR, and chest compressions alone without rescue breathing can still save lives. 1 second seconds count, CPR does work. I'm honored to work with 11 other amazing officers of the Decorah Police Department, 11 dedicated community caretakers willing to intervene to help in any circumstance. On September 27th, 2023, it was that dedication, the willingness of Sergeant Van Gundy and his peers in law enforcement, the communications center, and medical staff that saved the life of this victim. In acknowledgement of that, I present Sergeant Van Gundy with this life-saving bar pin, which is highly recognizable amongst law enforcement, to be affixed to the right side of his dress uniform. For all to see that, to know the methods and the steps he took to save the life of another. Sergeant Van Gundy is also presented with a certificate that reads, to Dustin Van Gundy, in appreciation of your dedicated life-saving public service on September 27th, 2023, on which date you provided CPR to a citizen of the Decorah community, saving his life. For that, I am truly thankful. I am honored to work with you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the quality of individuals that we have in all of our public safety, but it's nice to be recognized too. Okay, Senior Citizen Center Annual Report. Step up and state your name.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Bassford, and I'm here with this, for the Senior Citizen Center. First of all, I want to thank you all for the money that you had given us, which was $12,000, which we put to use. With that, we also accumulated another $72,000. So it was $84,000 in total that we've been working with. And we wanted to show you not only that we have done things material-wise to the center, but administratively wise as well. We've had a rough year because we started off with mold and had to be closed, and then we were open for a few months, then we closed what we thought for a month to do the bathrooms, and it ended up. But it's open now. Okay, so I want to introduce Mary Lou Cotton, and she is our administrative guru, and she will tell you some of the wonderful things that she has been working with, and then we'll go to the building part.
Okay, and I'm Mary Lou Cotton, and I moved to Decorah in 1976, so I'm almost a lifer. I have a few more years to go. I'll probably be dead before then. But anyhow, we had a lot of people that had been on the board of directors for a long time, and things were sort of just stalled out. And then we thought, oh, we needed to bring some new things and some new organization. And so we are trying to, it took a while to convince powers that be that those things just needed to be done, or that we were going to be stalling out and not making any progress. So we have certain things up in place now. We have an inspection that's going to be made every year because I don't want to see any more mold in my life. I know more about mold now than I ever thought I would. But anyhow, that's it. And then to get a telephone in there was quite a major battle, because you have to realize that they've been supporting themselves for so long, and they just sort of went on donations that came. If you put your dollar in the red box, for if you use the facility, well then that was good. Well, we need to make a little bit more progress in that to pay the bills anymore. So, but we did manage to convince them to have a telephone. But now we don't really have anybody to answer the telephone, but at least there's a number that people can get in touch with somebody if they want to leave a message. So we have that, and then there was the internet. So it took a while to drive home the importance of having a website, and we've got that up and running now, and it's working pretty good. I needed to shorten the name. I didn't realize that having a long name like Senior Citizens Hospitality Center is a big deal for the website, but apparently it is. So we did that. And then we also updated our rental agreements. We have 2 renters that rent the facilities, and one of them is the Genealogy Society, and we still give them a break on their rent because they're in the same nonprofit situation that we are, and they provide globally an outreach of citizens that they offer their services to.
But we did double the rent.
Yeah, we did double the rent, but it is still minor compared to what they would have to pay. And we'll tell you if that's interesting to you. But their rent was $150, and it's now $300 a month. So, but that is. And then we rent out Thursday evenings and Sundays to a church group. And they've been really supportive for us when we've been shut down. They've met in parks and everything else, but they still paid their rent 1 month without us asking for it. And so they've been really supportive, and so we're eager to get them back into their building now it's getting cold out. So we have done that. And so we also put a new logo on our website because we wanted to be updated. We don't want you to see how old we were beginning to look in those the logo that we had, but we want to be more vital community resource for our community, which is all of Winnebago County and surrounding areas, and anybody 55 and older supposedly, but we'll take anybody that wants to come visit us and to have a good time. You got to have a good time or else don't come. So, and we also use part of it to we want to start quarterly mailings so we can keep people updated with everything that's going on. And we keep wanting to add new activities to our list of things that we want to do. You know, old people don't just want to sit around and look cute. So we're, the cute is really getting hard, but we want to be active and stay out there. So I heard a lot of conversation from people that say, we would like to do some day trips. So trying to figure out how to do that has been kind of taking us a while to come up, but I think by spring we'll be able to take some day trips now and then. So I think you'll see that we have been working really hard on the infrastructure of the building and not just trying to take care of the bad stuff that was going on. So I'll let you.
Thank you, thank you. So as you can see, there's things going on behind the scene, but then actually what's going on within the building. We have finished the 2 bathrooms. They are ADA capable, and that took $50,000. And so then we also had the mold remediation, which we've repeated a few times. So in doing that, we did have to replace quite a bit of sheetrock and insulation, but we also improved the air quality. We have air filter machines going now to help that. We also started to have little leaks happen. So while they were tearing the bathrooms apart, we were replacing copper piping that was going in other directions. We removed the old commercial kitchen. We sold all the furniture. We had a garage sale to sell all the small stuff. And now it is a beautiful second room. It holds 2 long 8-foot tables, and 14 people can sit around it. And so it gave us additional space that we didn't have before. And we also added a light switch, so now when we go in at either door, the lights come on. It's a big thing, folks. We replaced the front window. We've had the roofing repaired. We had lights, the LED lights donated, and so we have better lighting. We have just now gotten funding, so we're working on a new ceiling. So we're now, after 2 years, we're starting to make the place look pretty. I signed on 2 years ago to make it look pretty. It's just taken this long for us to get to that part. But we will be getting the ceiling in. Hopefully it will be in by early January. And then other things, the other things that we have down the line is ADA type railing as you enter, that's getting done. More gutter work needs to be done. Now that the roof is finished, we need to do the gutters. To do that, we need to add exterior lighting. Because we're hoping to expand to evening things. So we're working with Maracek and other people to design something that doesn't make the community feel like we have floodlights in the building. And also, aside from mold, we had excess moisture on our south wall. We've discovered that the sheetrock itself has absorbed so much moisture, and we will have to replace that. And we were fearful that it was the South Street on River Street. At the hill, there's water that's coming down. It's in underground stream. And we're fearful that it was coming down and hitting our exterior south wall. Well, we drilled holes in it, and it's perfectly dry. So the excess moisture that was in the sheetrock was caused by one of our guesses is when it was closed during COVID, heat and air was not going on, extra humidity came in, and the sheetrock as well as the ceiling are little sponges, and they absorb all the excess moisture. So we're going to have to replace some of that. So that's what we're doing. We're like I said, ever so grateful for the $12,000. You can see that we've worked hard, and we're not invisible. We're there. And one day you guys are going to be there too. And so, we have backup,
We brought applications with us.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
For all the support page. But there was one other thing I wanted to mention, that we also are in the midst of trying to hire a janitor that'll come and help us move tables and stuff, because we find that is the drawback for most of us, is we can't lift those heavy tables. We did buy some 4 plastic ones, and so those we can push around a lot, but it's lifting those really heavy tables that has been the biggest chore for us, and so we do that. We still haven't found the money for a secretary, so I'm trying to talk them into volunteering a certain morning every week so we can be there from 10 to 4 and have set hours. That's hard for people to get a hold of us to make reservations if they want to rent the building or something, to get a hold of somebody. So that's what we're trying to work out the bugs for that yet.
And you're welcome to our open house.
Right. And we have some brochures, and there are 3 pieces of paper with the brochures, and I'll hand them out. And there are 3 events that are scheduled for December, the 3rd, the 8th, and I think it's the 14th or something like that. So I'll hand that out to everybody here so that you have those. So do you guys have any other questions
Thank
for
you
me?
so much for your report. You've zealously been
I
working.
have some really flashy slides, no sound, but I didn't
That's
know
okay.
that the flash drive
So
was
we really
helpful.
appreciate all the hard work that you've done and the support of the community that's helped you with that.
That is what's been really great, and it's really beginning to pay off right now. It seems like everybody's beginning to ask us to talk to them about it, and it's really surprising how much that those senior years will creep up on you, and they're here before you know it, and then you would say, okay, what do I do now? I had 2 people call me today and tell me the same thing.
You have any of those applications with you, Steve? And I could each use one.
Yes, we have them.
Yeah,
That's
right,
what
right,
happens.
No, I wanted to thank you guys too. I know you guys were a godsend for my mother when she was getting older and stuff. It gave her an opportunity to get out and socialize, a place to go play bridge, which she loved to do, and appreciate what you guys do.
Well,
That was the first thing that they did this morning. We opened the doors and we had bridge players were there to play bridge.
And then healthy eating came.
And tomorrow is the exercising, so anybody can come and exercise tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much. You two are very inspirational.
The initiative is marvelous.
Consent agenda.
Item A, minutes of the November 6, 2023 meeting. B, claims. C, resolution setting public hearing on amending section 17.16.30 related to accessory buildings. D, tax abatement at 1010 and 1012 Glenbarth Circle, Avs Nabitune Senior Living Neighborhood. Hagen Senior Services. E, consider resolution obligating funds from Urban Renewal Revenue Fund to Rebound Hospitality fiscal year 25 payment for tax increment financed obligations. F, consider resolution obligating funds from Urban Renewal Revenue Fund to Car Auto Group FY25 payment for tax increment financed obligations. G, consider resolution obligating funds from Urban Renewal Revenue Fund to Deco Bluffs Hy-Vee fiscal year 25 payment for tax increment financed obligations. H, consider resolution obligating funds from Urban Renewal Revenue Fund to Skyline Motorsports fiscal year 25 payment for tax increment financed obligations. I, consider resolution obligating funds from Urban Renewal Revenue Fund to Bluffside Gardens FY25 payment for tax increment financed obligations. J, consider resolution accepting final assessment amounts for Decorah 2023 Alley Improvement Project. K, appointment of Jeff Clement as Fire Chief. L, fiscal year 2023 annual financial report. And M, fiscal year 2023 annual urban renewal report.
Excellent reading.
I practiced.
Could you repeat those, please?
I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion?
It was Randy and Mayor, who's the second? Steve or Kirsten? I seconded it. Can I have it? I'm excited about it. All right.
I would be too. It was read off
Right,
very
it
well.
was
that
very
is
well done.
Incredible.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Chisel. Zittergruen.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider approval of traffic control signal update.
Okay, so for fiscal '24, the city budgeted $40,000 for upgrades to our traffic signals. Typically, that's been historically, it's only been $30,000, but it was anticipated we were going to see price increases, and so to continue with the replacement upgrades of 2 signals per year, we budgeted another $40,000 this year. Instead of upgrading 2 and replacing components, what staff is proposing is to use $30,000 of the budgeted $40,000 to address just the College Drive 5th Avenue stoplight controller, which is 40 years old and many of its components still original. It does have a loop system, so loops running through the concrete. So at 40 years old, that's a matter of time before that's subject to failure as well. But what staff is proposing is to implement a video controller, so that way it can use video to monitor the traffic flow. We can customize the signalization on there. With the road diet on College Drive, that's been the chief complaint, is the backup of traffic for about 10-15 minutes, primarily in the morning, around 7:45, 8 o'clock. And so this would allow for some customization to allow more traffic flow from the north-south than our current setup. The current one is all, again, loop-based and on a timer as well.
Hadley will make a motion to approve the traffic control signal upgrade on College and 5th.
Second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Luce. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Hadley,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Zittergruen,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Chisel.
Motion carried. Consider resolution opposing Alliant Energy's proposed electric rate increase.
Okay, so Alliant Energy has proposed a rate increase with the IUB. In that rate increase, in the notice that was sent out to all customers, it says that it'll be a 15 to 20% rate increase for customers. In fiscal '23, the city paid $482,000 and change to Alliant, so an increase of 15% would equal about $72,000, and increase in about 20% would equal to about $96,000 to our annual budget. So we've heard some discussions locally that 15 to 20%, that there's maybe some questions on whether that's truly going to be the situation. But operating with the notice that Alliant sent, we've heard numbers as high as 30 or 40% outside of the notice from Alliant. But even if you take the existing 15 to 20, that's still upwards of nearly $100,000 annually to the city budget.
And does this go in conjunction with 10 as well?
So it is in conjunction, but they are separate actionable items.
I understand.
So this item, if the council approves this resolution, what it states is that the city clerk will file this as part of the rate increase docket and then send this also to both Representative Bergen and Senator Clemesh.
I make a motion that we direct the city clerk to file a resolution with the IUB as part of the docket and send copies to Representative Bergen and Senator Clemesh.
Second.
Motion made by Neal, seconded by Luce. Further discussion?
Would it also be possible to, when we write something up, to communicate that with other city managers and give them a blueprint about what we're doing? Or to make some kind of, I don't know if city managers have gotten together in the Alliant territory to talk about this and the impacts on cities, but I would encourage that as well.
Yeah, this actually isn't something that's been discussed. Unfortunately, most of our focus has been on the state level and what changes are coming there. But this is, very much a concern, especially in Decorah. Should be a concern of a lot of communities, especially we've got some operations that are very energy driven, whether it's street lighting or wastewater treatment plant. I mean, nobody wants us to shut that off, trust me. So we got to keep that running. And Mike does an excellent job out there with the efficiency rate. We're actually on 99% efficiency, right, Mike? With the KVAR unit and the way the plant is managed. So if we did not have that efficiency rating, that increase would be even more substantial.
I just wonder about, I mean, I know obviously it's going to hit Cedar Rapids hard, but I would think Mount Vernon, Elkader, I mean, Alliant doesn't have giant territories, but they do have several small towns that I think this would be pretty impactful. And it would be great to reach out to their city managers and ask them what they're doing, and here's our blueprint.
Is there a way too we could use the league and our connections there to share and encourage other cities to make a similar stance?
We could use some tools the league has for us, such as
Yes.
Grapevine and ClerkNet. But as far as
Mayor's
the league
Associ-
pushing
Mayor's
it out,
Board.
I would not anticipate the league.
I wasn't thinking that, just our connections and
Well,
our.
and Mayor, you could probably do it through your mayor's
A good
listserv.
association.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
I think coming from as many possible venues and directions to get the different municipalities involved and would be good.
And
Okay.
I don't believe that Decorah is the only city that's considering a resolution like this. I know there are others
yeah.
out there that are considering the same, but it just hasn't been broadcast widely.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, roll call? Oops, I'm sorry.
I do have just one other question here.
Could you use your microphone, please?
Yeah, when they ask for 15 to 20, is that just kind of like a starting point, and then they kind of go back and forth with the IUB? I mean, could somebody enlighten
My understanding is,
myself and the public?
so my understanding, based on the last rate increase in Decorah, was this is very much the same process where the city partnered with SETI, formed a coalition to intervene, and it's not necessarily a back and forth with IUB and Alliant, but Alliant the IUB takes into consideration Alliant's request, and then everything else submitted into the docket. So my understanding of the situation is the IUB makes a determination based on Alliance requests and other feedback given to them. So the last time this was done, Alliance request was 25%, I want to say.
No, 4% a year, no
on
more than
residential.
4%, they said.
No, at the IOB, that their request was
Oh, this is
25
what
on
Alliance
residential
said, no more than 4% a year.
in Decorah, but not at the IUB.
So my understanding, the last IUB, 25%, city submitted a concern, complaint, call what you want, but had something inserted in the docket. IUB then came back and said, okay, not 25%, here's the percent we're giving you. So it's not a back and forth with them, but it's IUB taking that into consideration and setting the rate.
And the last time, just to add to that, so the last time, it wasn't just a submission to a docket, that anyone can submit to a docket. The last time we actually intervened in the case. So it was the city, Luther, the hospital, Aussie, and who am I missing? Winnebago Energy District, I'm pretty sure. Anyhow, so there's difference between being an intervener and just submitting a docket. I hope everybody in Decorah submits a complaint to the docket. That anyone can do it. You just go to their website, complain, because Steve's right. They did say that we should be about at a 2%, right? No more than 4% for the next 5-6 years. This is our second rate increase in 3 years. But the other, where was I going to go with this? What's also different about this year that's hard to wrap your head around what the actual increase is that there was an appeal by Alliant to change the formula for how they essentially create what your percent increase will be, which is why it's expected that it might actually be higher than 20%. Because now it's a formula base. So they didn't send, last time they sent you a little mailer that says your rate increase and gave you a percentage. Now they utilize a formula that I don't particularly understand. Jim's in the audience, so he might be able to help a little bit more, but the formula then leaves you a little bit to look at your bill and say, okay, for every dollar I spend on this part and every dollar I spend on this part and every dollar I spend on this part, it's going to go this way. And it also takes out the transmission costs, which also will increase. So, as I said, this particular resolution for 9 is a docket that's just complaining about the rate case, and I hope we'll do that. I mean, that's costs us nothing, and it's super important. And as I said, I hope everyone in Decorah does that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Neal?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Sittergruen?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
Nay.
Okay. Consider an MOA. Oops, excuse me.
What'd you say?
Go ahead, Mayor. I'm sorry. I was thinking out loud.
Okay. Consider an MOA between City of Decorah and Clean Energy District of Iowa.
So as Councilmember Neal pointed out, there's 2 different levels. One is submitting something to the docket. The other is intervening. And so item 10 is somewhat in conjunction with item 9, that it would be an agreement between the City of Decorah and Clean Energy Districts of Iowa, or SETI, that they would intervene on our behalf. So it would not be the city actively pursuing this. We would provide a supporting role, essentially. The MOA as it's drafted does have 2 sections in particular that I want to point out. If a motion's made to adopt, there's 2 sections that reference a contribution, a financial contribution. So if a motion's made, please insert a dollar amount, even if that dollar amount is 0, just so that we can have that recorded as to what that consideration is.
Do you remember what Decorah gave last time? Did we give 10? Or did we give
don't know.
5?
You happen to know?
Do we have recollection of that? And do we have an understanding of what other folks in the group are giving in terms of monetary contribution?
I do not know that.
Can we
Or-
ask Jim that, just so we have an idea?
That's a question for the mayor.
Can we ask Jim?
Yes. Just step up and state your name and address. The question is, do you know what other people are giving in relation to this?
Yes. Jim Martin Schramm, 104 Spring Street, Decorah, policy analyst for Clean Energy Districts of Iowa. We currently have $20,000 to $25,000 raised. About half of that is from individual donors, the Winnebago Energy District and Luther College. Tomorrow, the letter of invitation that you received, Mayor Borowski, will go out to hundreds of other mayors in the city, in the state of Iowa that are served by Alliant Energy. So the items that you're dealing with today are items that we're hoping other communities will deal with in the next few weeks. But at this point, we've raised 20 to 25,000. I mean, there's, one of the donors is willing to go from 5 to 10, but needs to be shown that in fact, that the need is there. We anticipate it will cost $50,000 to $80,000 to engage in the docket. Most of that's for legal services. In some cases, it's a payment to expert witnesses. There's certain things like class cost of service studies that are very complicated, and ordinary folks are just not qualified to address. So we have to buy the expertise to address it, and we did that last time. And the large general service class was scheduled to have the highest increase and wound up getting the lowest increase. And I would say that's because of the expert witness that we brought to the table, the Decorah area group brought to the table.
Yep.
So I think, we've demonstrated that we can be successful. It's not just us, of course, right? You have the environmental interveners, you have the Office of the Consumer Advocate, Large Energy Group, the Iowa Business Energy Coalition, and perhaps the Iowa Economic Alliance. They may step in, which I believe represent Microsoft, Amazon, the big Google, the big tech outfits. There's a lot of money at stake. This is a record request, $284 million increase in the revenue requirement, and a significant change in how the company intends to structure bills for all ratepayer classes. And so this is an important time to intervene to try to help the board understand these changes, because it's likely they will have a significant effect going forward. This is also an unusual request. It's a request for a 2-year phased-in rate increase. That's I don't believe that this company has ever tried to do that, but I think in the past maybe one or two have tried. I'm not sure it's apples to apples, but nevertheless. So it's going to be a complicated case. It's both electric and gas. It's got this 2-year dimension instead of a 1-year historical test year or a 1-year future test year. So it's it's a lot to get your head wrapped around. But we have excellent legal counsel secured in Cecil Wright, senior staff attorney, recently retired senior staff attorney at the Iowa Utilities Board, former general counsel, former chief operating officer of the board.
Okay.
I think I've added more than you asked me to.
That's okay.
That's great. That's
Thank you.
I
Thank
make
you.
a,
Just a minute. Could you give me guidelines as far as the consideration for the council for the fiscal amount that, not for how much they would do, but how does that work?
So Gary was able to find, does appear back in 2020, a $5,000 contribution was made to Winnebago Energy District. Does that sound
Yep.
about the right timeline?
Yep.
Yeah, it
Yep.
looked to be 5,000.
Okay.
That's what I thought it was.
Can we discuss that amount before we actually make a motion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
'Cause,
okay.
again, I just
Yeah.
asked that those are blanks in the MOU. A motion needs to fill in those
Yep.
blanks.
Do you want us to make a motion before we discuss?
No, I want to make a discussion first.
That's what I
Okay.
just asked. Can we discuss
Great.
it before?
So I would like to, I think that we should, I definitely think we should sign the MOA. I think that our interests would be best protected. $100,000 rate increase for us is enormous. I think we can use sustainability funds and honor the commitment we made to the sustainability plan regarding why would we be doing this. So I would suggest, I think we should give around 8,000, right? We gave 5,000 last time. I think this is a more complicated case. Things cost more. And we did see the benefits of our $5,000 last time quite clearly. So to me, I would recommend that we join the MOA, or joined the Clean Energy Districts with an $8,000 commitment, and that we, yeah, that would be my.
Comments during the discussion period here?
I'm sorry, what?
Comments during this discussion period prior to make a
I think given that it's a 2-year request, I think that increasing the amount is warranted.
I think we owe it to the citizens of Decorah to fight in their behalf against this rate increase, so I would be in favor of the 8,000 too.
Yeah, there's a chance that, I mean, you never know with the IUB, and you never know, Alliance going to be able to afford better lawyers than this group will, of course, or at least more lawyers. But there's a good chance that they'll be successful like last time, and even if there's a small chance of even a reduction in the asked for rate, that's, a great investment for us. It will save taxpayer dollars, and it'll ease the burden on, our poorest residents. So I like your suggestion, Emily. I think 8's appropriate, given, it's a more complicated case, and the money's worth a little less than it was 3 years ago.
Randy, do you have any input, please?
This is coming out of the sustainability?
Yes.
So what we're already paying on our taxes on our,
Can you use your mic, Randy?
this is already coming out of sustainability, which is a tax on your electric bill anyway, to fight this? And just for clarity.
Well, I appreciate your
Yeah,
comments.
so you're right, so vote yes. Yeah.
Don't tell me how to vote.
Okay.
I don't
Any
think we
other-
can.
I hadn't had a chance to speak yet, so yes,
Okay.
I'm supportive of it as well. I think the $8,000 would be well spent in the eye of a 15 to 20% potential increase.
If we spent 5 on the 1 year, it seems to me if it's a 2-year thing, at the 5 per year would be reasonable, and it's only 2,000 more than 8, so I would say, actually, I would be in favor of 10.
I would go to 10.
So, John, I don't mean to interject, but
Yeah.
I do.
I-
John just pointed out here, so it does have a termination in there that remains valid until the end of the rate case. But if this rate case keeps going and going and going, if we've already met our financial obligation, do we want to put some other termination, like a defined termination date, so this isn't left hanging out there?
Or just that you can terminate it without cause on, immediately on X number of days' notice. If you commit $8,000, is that all paid at once? Then that's fine, that's gone. But it could possibly at some point you might want to disassociate yourself with this.
Could we put, to Steve's point, Steve Luz's point, 5,000 1 year, 5,000 a second year, and then not award the second year if the MOA is terminated or if the action is complete in year 1?
I don't think the actual case will go on for 2 years, right? They're just proposing a rate increase for 2 years. So the actual case will probably happen over the course of 6 months, maybe 8. But it's not it wouldn't be something that we're like, oh yeah, so this is year 1 and this is year 2, right? And I do think that given that they're, the minimum they're looking for is $50,000. I would also say that I'm really excited by the lawyer that we have, right? When you think about a lawyer that was actually working for the Iowa Utility Board, to me, there is no better lawyer than that. So I actually think we have a pretty good chance of having an effect on this case.
So just want to point out, in the draft MOU, it does also state payment made within 21 days of agreement. So that's how it's currently drafted. If council wants to amend that payment structure, I don't think SETI would be upset because they're getting some money as opposed to 0.
John, do you think then that the termination clause should just be a 7th clause in the proposed language?
Yeah, I think I would recommend that you consider having modifying that termination clause so you can terminate it without cause.
Either party with 30 days notice in writing, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification.
I just have one question, Mayor, if I can, for Jim.
Yes.
Jim, are there any other cities involved in this that are contributing? You said individuals in Luther.
Not yet. We're going to send an email to hundreds of Alliant communities tomorrow, and they'll be offered the same invitation will be extended to them that has been extended to the city of Decorah. There is a line in the MOA that does say that, let's say we get more than 80,000. Let's say we get 100,000, and we only spend 50. Well, then we've only spent 50% of the money that communities have contributed. And so if the city of Decorah contributed 8,000, we would refund 4,000. Does that help? In terms
Yep.
of, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
That's great.
And then just one other point about the termination. Again, it's a little unusual case with the 2-year phased in, But typically in a historical test year case or in a historical test year case, the board has 10 months after the company has made its application to raise rates. And then by code, within 10 months, they're supposed to arrive at a decision. Everybody's assuming that that'll be the case. So there's a scheduling conference tomorrow at the IUB. We'll know probably 7 to 10 days after that exactly what the schedule is. But at this point, that's our expectation, is that, let's say, a year from now, it should be wrapped up. There is a subsequent proceeding in the rate case because it's a historical test year. But in our case, we're focusing just on this proposal and the board's final decision in order. Once we get to that point, then as far as we're concerned, it's done. If we need to go back in, I guess we'll come back. But at this point, that's what we're doing.
Okay,
Is Alliant able to raise their rates right now?
In the past, that is what they have
Right.
done. They've introduced an interim rate increase, and then if the board awards them less than they were collecting, then they refund to the ratepayer the difference. Or if the board gives them what they asked for and they still can raise rates more, then they do. In this case, they've not chosen to do that. They've chosen to have it begin to be implemented in October of '24 and again in October of '25. And so the notice that we all received includes those 2 years, and then another column at the end that shows you the total increase. You should know that the board insisted that the company provide that last column so that ratepayers know what the total increase, projected estimated increase is.
Okay,
Thanks, Tim.
thank you.
I guess now,
Thank you.
I one more question. I am assuming that if we go with the kind of agreed upon amount of $8,000, you could also revisit this 3 or 4 months from now if it appears that you're short, correct?
True. Then I guess I would be, then why don't we just stay with the 8? It seems like people are more comfortable with the 8. So.
Is there any other discussion prior to making a motion?
I have a termination clause drafted if you want to let me make the motion, Emily. Unless you want to ad-lib a termination clause.
You go for it.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to move the MOA as drafted by staff with the insertion of $8,000 in the amount of support and with a 7th section termination, reading the MOA may be terminated by either party at any time by notifying the other party in writing with 30 days notice. And I can email that to you, Carrie.
Second.
Motion made by Zittergruen, seconded by Neal. Any further discussion? Do you have that down?
Yep.
Okay.
And just want to make sure it doesn't need to be part of the motion, but everyone understands. I would agree that I think sustainability funds, they have some bank funds that $8,000 would be a good fit for it. That's where we plan at staff level, we would take it.
Okay. Roll call.
Zittergruen?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you very much. Consider ordinance amending section 2.16.030 related to police department policies and procedures. First reading. Can you give background on that, please?
Yes, so police department's been busy looking at updating current police procedures. It's been some time since that's been done. In that legwork to update the policies, discovered that we've got some conflicting sections of city code. So under 2.48.40, duties of the manager, which has been updated several times over recent years, it states that all departments of the city shall report and be responsible to the city manager. The city manager has the power to prepare, adopt, and implement personnel and financial rules and procedures necessary for the conduct of all departments under the city manager's control. ... fill in a bunch. Department heads have authority to establish department standard operating procedures as needed to accomplish the operations of their respective departments. However, section 2.16.30 under the police chief duties reads that the chief may make such rules not in conflict with the provisions of this chapter as needed for the detailed operation of the police department, subject to the approval of the council. And so that section hasn't been updated in some time. And so the proposed ordinance would amend that section 2.16.030, paragraph K, to align with the provisions in 240.040, city manager, with separating, with taking the rules and separating between policies and procedure. So that's why there's two definitions there on policies and procedure, where any policy would have to be drafted, or could be drafted by the police chief, but must be approved by the city manager. But as far as a procedure goes, that can be implemented by the police chief, as any other department head would be able to do.
I appreciate the work that's being done. We're doing the updates. Any discussion? Motion?
I
And this is the first reading.
Yeah,
move the first reading.
a second.
Motion made by Zittergruen, seconded by Neal. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Zittergruen?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Since this is more internal, I would move to waive the second, third reading and adopt.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by
Made by.
Zittergruen to
Waive
waive the second and adopt. How's that go?
Second,
third.
Second and third and adopt.
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Chisel?
Aye.
Zittergruen?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Consider ordinance amending Chapter 9.30 related to liquor and intoxication. First reading. Travis.
Yes, okay. So, at the Public Safety Committee meeting, actually backing up even further, at a council meeting about 2 months ago, a potential 21 draft ordinance was introduced for discussion. That was then reverted to public safety for discussion. That conversation happened prior to last council meeting, and where Chief Time presented some information. The 21 ordinance as drafted was discussed, and since then, did have two council members that have asked me to place this on the agenda. So per council rules and procedures, it's on the council agenda for consideration tonight. And so again, two ordinances were included in Dropbox.
Okay.
One is we'll call it the original ordinances drafted, which was 21 ordinance that had a number of exceptions, if with family, if with a spouse, if through a special event, if segregated from the alcohol, a couple of things there. And then a second version is included in Dropbox that essentially has all the current requirements of 19 and older until a certain timeline. So 10 o'clock is what's in the draft ordinance there, that up until 10 o'clock, it's as everything has been in Decorah. And then at 10 o'clock, all the provisions discussed in the draft ordinance would kick in.
Would it be that the council would choose one of those two?
So what I would encourage is conversation among the council between the two ordinances.
That sounds good.
And then at a certain point, Mayor, if you want to call, or if one of the council members wants to call for a motion on which one,
okay,
and then have discussion further on that one specific.
So we can discuss prior to having a
Right.
motion made one way or the
That's
other. Okay,
correct.
right.
Right, and so now would be the time to discuss between A and B.
Sure. Just for clarification purposes, I'd like everybody to know that I was the one that did request this be put on our agenda for tonight. I think we've had two discussions on it. I think it's an important enough safety issue that the police department deserves a yea or nay on this particular issue, so.
And then during, on the public safety discussion you had, That was what was brought back was the 10 o'clock piece, correct?
Yeah, I believe there was one, maybe two individuals that had, I can't remember if it was an outright statement or what, but there was here's a second option that was
Gotcha.
drafted as a result of that conversation that has a time constraint.
And in
So
the
it would kick in at a certain time.
And in the second one, is there allowance also for application for special event?
Correct. Yep.
As well?
Essentially, all the provisions in the original draft are there. They just wouldn't kick in until 10.
Okay. And it looked like pursuant to a special event permit held outdoors, including Nordic Fest, where the special event area is not required to be enclosed by structured fence, tent, or similar. Okay, that's included in the second one too.
Correct, that exemption.
Okay.
So it's, the examples that I would give in background would be like a Nordic Fest
Yep.
or
Yep.
lawn chair nights, things that are held outdoors that there's no defined area.
I've got
There's a
it.
defined for the liquor license, but it's not fenced in, it's not enclosed.
Okay, similar to like the outdoor trivia night.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I'll just go on record as saying I fully support file 012A, first off, because it's cleaner and doesn't leave any discretion or gray area. Be easier to get compliance with. I look at the second one and think back to my days and what I see when I used to go out, like March Madness, New Year's Day, bowl games where you got underage people before 10 o'clock that might be in the bars with a group of buddies and sitting around drinking beer, watching ball games. It's still illegal.
Would that type of description that you just gave, would that be considered, could that be considered a special event?
You're just watching a ball game in a sports bar?
No.
I was thinking if it was
That's a
like a
daily
Super Bowl
occurrence
or
anymore.
whatever. I'm just asking. I'm just asking
No, I'm
questions.
just saying,
Al.
just because we got a time limit on there, we're kind of saying that it's still legal then to do it beforehand. Or permissible.
So
I
it's-
shouldn't say legal, it's permissible.
I've got it.
And once somebody's in a bar early, from my time tending bar, you just get used to them if they're in there at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you get to 10 o'clock, and well, geez, they've been here all night, they must be of age, they didn't leave, so you just keep serving them.
I think
Go ahead.
I think one of the hard things for me to wrap my head around, and this is because I'm really not a drinker, is that I go to a bar a lot of times and I don't drink. So I can, in my mind, imagine going to a bar and not drinking. I can be the designated driver. I usually am. I can go, listen to music. So there is a little bit of me that recognizes that bars are also social gathering places. And we aren't really talking about minors here. We're talking about 19-year-olds, which to me are adults. So I have a really hard time thinking, and I get that people abuse this. I totally do, right? But I know that they can go to T-Box and abuse it. I know they go to Top Lane, and I do think Kirk had a really good point, that this is very indiscriminate, right? We're just saying that if alcohol is your primary mode, then 19-year-olds can't be there. But if you're also serving food, then a 19-year-old can go and do the same illegal behavior that they're doing at other bars and have a drink. So I'm still not, this is super hard. Like, I want to support our public safety officers. They're amazing, and they do great work. And of course I want to make their jobs easier. They have hard jobs. But I also want to know, I also recognize that everything they do is hard, right? There isn't really anything that they do that isn't hard. So we're always asking them to do hard things. And I guess there's a part of me that thinks, I would rather be focusing on the people who are breaking the law than trying to figure out how do we create a blanket statement that is then affecting everyone, including people who aren't, who are for good reason in bars, doing good things, supporting their friends in very different ways, supporting our business establishments, before I'd be willing to pass this.
I guess in reference to the 10 o'clock curfew hour, I think the problem with the ordinance as it's written right now and why the police were asking for a change in it is because in it is written a gray area already. In other words, we know the law in Iowa is you can't consume alcohol under the age of 21. Or, oh, I'm sorry, you have to be over the age of 21 before you can consume alcohol. Because of that, we're now allowing them to enter into a bar that serves just alcoholic beverages. So you're putting them in close proximity to this law-breaking ordinance, so to speak. And so we're replacing that gray area with another gray area that the police have to now try to distinguish. Is it my time? Is it the time on the person that I'm issuing a citation to? Is it the bar time? What is it? So we're adding another gray area into this problem. I won't name the establishment, but there is a bar currently that's advertising happy hour for a certain group of students between the hours of 6 and 10 o'clock. So that tells me that if we put a 10 o'clock time limit on it, people are just going to go in there prior to 10 o'clock and get around the ordinance by doing that. So I don't think that's going to address the issue as much as if we put just a straight no one under the age of 21.
And if you're saying that, then you were thinking of A versus B?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. Other comments, please, from the council?
I apologize for my voice. I lost it up at Lambeau Field yesterday, rooting on the Packers.
Okay.
I guess, you know, I met with the chief and talked about this, and I really appreciated our conversation. I don't think she and I ended up, either of us, convincing the other. Many of my concerns are still similar. I know that there is an epidemic of underage drinking that does lead to deaths and fatal consequences, and I know that the way things currently function at a few establishments in Decorah makes it hard for our police to do their work, and I don't think that's acceptable. But I feel like, you know, if my wife, when she needs to look into a child's hurting ears, will give them, you know, the option of which ear she starts with. And I feel like that's sort of the choice we're getting here, you know, which one of these sort of two ordinances should we pick? And I think that there's got to be a better way that solves the genuine issues that we have with public safety at a few establishments without legalizing what is currently legal behavior, going into a social establishment and not consuming alcohol. Right now, that's legal behavior, and we'd be making a law making that not legal. And I think that, you know, we should instead try to figure out how to address the criminal behavior without putting a blanket ban on what is okay behavior. In fact, behavior we should encourage. As I mentioned to the chief in our conversation, there's another epidemic going on, and it's an epidemic of loneliness. Teen anxiety and suicidality and lack of human connection are skyrocketing. And, you know, when I go to various establishments in town and, you know, have a legal beverage, and I see other, you know, places, I see other people there who may not be 21 sitting around with their friends and playing games and talking to each other instead of looking at their phones. And I think that those third places, those places where people can not be on campus, in the case of Luther students, I think they're important. I think they're important gathering places for our local youth, and I frankly would like to see a more targeted approach that addresses the establishments that either encourage or don't do enough to avoid the packed, unenforceable, crazy scenes where there's lots of underage drinking happening.
I have a question. Is it then the responsibility of the bar to determine and enforce that underage drinkers are not drinking in that bar?
I have a sense that there's a reason that underage, you know, kids who choose to go out and take advantage of some bars' lax behavior are targeting, you know, certain establishments for a reason. I see IDs being checked at Luther, or at Pulp at Rock. I see IDs being checked at Dixie's. I see IDs being checked, you know, at other establishments too. And I'd like to make it clear that is an onus that falls on a bar owner. I think state law requires them to ensure they're only serving legal drinkers. Now I get that doesn't stop, you know, someone who's 21 going up and ordering a tray of beers and setting them in the middle of their friends. I don't want to, you know, use a hammer when we could do surgery.
Other comments?
I heard the chief's impassioned plea regarding binge drinking. I agree that binge drinking is a problem. As a parent of a 21 and 23-year-old who've recently come into being legal, and I had a opportunity to speak with them since the public safety meeting, they said that fake IDs are so good now that
Yeah,
you wouldn't
I've
be
heard
able to
that
tell.
too. I know.
You know, that ordinances for enforcement that are age-driven are going to be difficult to enforce in any situation, which makes it very difficult for the law enforcement community as a general rule. So if enforcement is difficult, both from a standpoint of age verification and things like that, it feels like this ordinance would be strictly targeting businesses that, for whatever reason, don't have a kitchen. And to me, that's not solving a binge drinking problem. That's targeting businesses and diminishing business opportunities. I hope that we can address the businesses that we have, law enforcement feels has a problem with identifications, or businesses that have a problem handling incoming alcohol, but that's a business problem. It is not a civics issue. So I'm going to be voting no on both.
I guess in comment to that, I look on this more, like I said, as a public safety issue. Just in looking at the police data from the last couple weeks that's been reported on the news, there was 5 OWIs issued in this community, 3 by the sheriff's department, I believe, and 2 by the police department. One was a 19-year-old and one was a 20-year-old. Now, I understand that those statistics aren't far-reaching. They're just a small sample, but that's 40% of those drunk drivings were the people in that age category we're talking about, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds.
Sure. And do you know where they were served?
We don't. We don't know where they're served.
Bet we could.
If we look back historically at how these laws were arrived at, if you look back to the 1960s, 1970s, during the Vietnam War, there was protests going on all over the place. They changed the voting age so that 18-year-olds that were forced to go over to Vietnam and fight could have the right to vote. They took it the next step further to make it so 18, 19, and 20-year-olds could also drink and go into a bar and consume alcohol. They realized within just a few years what a mistake that was, because OW rates skyrocketed, the fatality crashes and the amount of automobile accidents skyrocketed because of that. The federal government then implemented a law in '84 that attached your highway dollars to force you to go back to the 21 ordinance or the state law prohibiting that. So I think that indicates there is a problem with that 18, 19, 20-year-old age group. And I don't think this is asking too much by the police department to get us to change this for them, to make their lives a little bit easier and make it safer for the public at large, as well as these young people that are out there consuming alcohol.
I think I need a point of clarification. You have 2 pieces in front. So you either, what are the options for the council, whether it be either this one, A or B, or nothing, or further?
So options exist, tabling to future date and time, option A, option B, knowing that, well, just those are your 3 options.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Is there a 4th I'm not thinking of, John?
If somebody wants to start it off, somebody can make a motion to approve
Ed,
A or B, and then
I have
see
another
if there's any
question
vote.
before somebody jumps in. I do have another question. If it fails this time, is the option to bring it back again? Can anybody bring it back to the table again?
The prevailing side would have to, the motion to reconsider
Okay.
would have to be done by the prevailing side. Anybody can second a motion to reconsider.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
That's, I'll be honest with you, that's one of the reasons I encourage having this discussion first.
Yep.
So that if one of the options
That's
failed, but 4 council members said, no, I liked this option over here, let's try not to rely on a motion to reconsider.
Okay, thank you.
Let me make just one last point. I want people to keep in mind that the police were asking for this to be done not only as a safety issue for them, but for the public at large. And keep in mind that that police officer that goes into that bar where there's just 1 or 2 police officers and maybe 100 intoxicated people, they know what they signed up for, but they're putting themselves in harm's way to protect the public and those people that are in there. And that same police officer is the same one that has to go out at 2 or 3 in the morning and tell some father or mother that their child has just been killed in an automobile accident with a drunk driver. And I guarantee from the 2 years I was on there, I only had to do that a few times, but those voices still haunt me today, of hearing that mother scream when she understands that her son or daughter has been lost in an OWI accident that could have been prevented.
I think that, obviously, I just wonder what kind of a message this would send to when we're looking at underage people who are considering drinking at all. The fact that we don't have something like that in place.
Okay, I get all this, right? In fact, I have to say that if you ask my 2 children about my feelings about driving at all when they're teenagers because of drunk driving, like, it's somewhat shocking, right? Because that's like my greatest fear. But what I'm not seeing is the connection between a bar's drinking age, not drinking age, a bar's entrance into the age, and whether or not there's more 19-year-old drunk drivers on the road. I want to know how many 19-year-olds are the DD for all the 21-year-olds who drink, because that was me, that was my kids. And so I understand that, like, we have this data, and it's emotional data, because drunk driving is horrific. Teenage drinking and binge drinking is horrific. I am just not seeing the dots connected between this ordinance and ending that. Until I can get that dot, I think we might create more problems here than we know. Again, I don't look at a bar, and again, that's my lived experience, as merely a drinking establishment. There are plenty of other things to drink, right? I'm allergic to beer. So it's really easy to have fun at a bar and not drink. I do it all the time. So in my mind, I get that there are people who abuse this, who do terrible things, and we need to address them. And so once I see, 80 tickets written and bar owners slapped for having underage drinking, and say put a wristband on kids so that you know who's 21, so it's easy for you to figure out who's 19, then I'm willing to look at this. But right now, I just don't have enough belief that this will end these problems or solve this issue.
No one's saying it's going to end it. It's not a magic wand that we can wave and suddenly this problem will go away. But if it saves 1 or 2 lives, isn't that worth it? And
but how do I
to
know
me,
it
is.
How do I know it? I'm not going to limit the 19-year-old who's helping drive those people home. Who often 19-year-olds can actually be the responsible ones. So I don't know. I mean, there is no way to predict the future.
I think we can be naive and put our heads in the sand and say that's not going to be a problem, but I think that's being naive.
Okay. You have 3 options. One's a table, one is A, one is B.
Or it could die for a lack of motion, right?
Correct.
So
That's
there
true.
is the 4th.
That's true.
If none of us decide to do anything.
I will make a motion to approve the first original reading, I guess, of the ordinance change that we made.
12A? 12A, correct. I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Olson and seconded by Chisel for option A. think we've discussed.
2 years, right? What's the, can't come back for
One year.
1
right?
year?
1 year.
Actually,
Okay,
What about with a new council?
right, I think,
First of the year, it might be able to come back again.
yeah.
You're thinking 2 meetings.
Oh,
It's within the next 2 meetings is a motion to reconsider the existing.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think
Yeah.
within a new election.
What, so there's 3. 1 year from the date the action was first voted on, or 2, the first regular meeting in January following a regular city election held in November, or after the earlier of either the expiration of 1 year or at the first regular meeting in January following a regular city election in November. A previously failed action may be considered and acted on again. I think we put that in there because we had this issue come up
okay,
at this time.
okay.
There was something that was this way.
Ready to vote? Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Johnson,
No.
Neal,
No.
Luce,
Aye.
Zittergruen.
No.
Hadley.
no.
Okay, motion fails.
I
Is-
will make a motion to approve the second one, second option.
Yeah, right, you can.
Right, bring the second one, right? Yep. Yeah, 12B.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Olson, seconded by Chisel for option B.
I'll just, a little bit of discussion. I'm certainly, if we're gonna go with one of these two, this is the one that I think at least has a little more rationale behind it that I support. But I want to exhaust all other avenues of working with the problem establishments. And I'll just share that I'm working on that. If the council, you know, if we can't solve this problem without this sort of heavy-handed new ordinance, I'd be up for reconsidering it next year.
How are you working with the establishments to address the issue?
Mayor, I'm doing lots of in-person field visits every night.
I'm not sure.
So even
That
if
was
this.
I was asking.
No, I've
on a city dime?
I have a few contacts, and I'm trying to get a meeting together with the chief and some bar owners in town.
I'm just
Because
asking.
I do think this is a problem that we could take big chunks out of without an ordinance that affects a lot of good businesses in town that are keeping their hands clean.
And some that are not, correct?
I'm happy to know we can bring it back after the first of the year, honestly. I was glad it wasn't 2. I do think that we have to try other avenues. I think one of those avenues is heavy education at Luther, right? I mean, part of the reasons Roscoe's closed down is because of infractions both by the bar and by people there. So if students want to have their bars open to be public gathering places where they can go and be with their friends, then they have to drink responsibly, which also means drinking legally. So, you know, you're here from Student Senate. I think that's a really important message. If our problem is Luther students in our bars downtown being underage and drinking, then Luther, we really need you to educate them, because I do think they offer a benefit to be there with their friends, right? But they have to do it legally.
And Luther is providing a place that they can drink on campus, I believe.
Right, which then also, does that mean that only then their 21-year-old people could be in there, not 19, which would be very complicated, right? I mean, you can't play pool with your buddies at Marty's because it's now 21. I appreciate Steve. I'm hoping that it works. I'd like to see bars taking more initiatives, and I have talked to the chief. I think more tickets need to be written, and I get we don't want to slap young people with infractions that stay on their record, but don't break the law. Like, that's an important lesson when you're young. Bar owners, again, we have to be diligent about the way in which we're monitoring our bar. If that means having fewer people, then you have to have fewer people.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for B. Roll call?
Olson,
Aye.
Chisel,
Aye.
Neal,
No.
Luce,
No.
Zittergruen,
No.
Hadley,
No?
Johnson.
No.
Okay. Motion failed. I'd like to see some type of assistance to the bars that are, as to what can be of assistance to bar owners in order to make sure that the law is being met.
Did you say you wanted assistance getting to the bars?
I know I did not say
Okay,
that.
I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, I didn't say that. Okay. Let's see, where are we at? Okay. We continue to have a vacancy on the telecommunication board, and we have a vacancy on the Human Rights Commission.
And Mayor, I just wanted to add that we did receive a resignation letter from Dick Gilgal from the tree board this afternoon.
Okay, so we would have an opening on the tree board. There may be somebody that might be applying for that. You haven't gotten any applications for it. Did you get an application for the tree board?
Yes.
Okay, because we could work with that one at the next meeting.
If you choose, historically, we post and advertise.
That's okay.
Or
Post and advertise.
We don't pay for it. We just put
No.
it on social media.
Okay. And then, so we would be looking at the first meeting in December for any applicants that submit to either, any of those?
If you want to put a deadline of the end of the month,
That would be perfect.
okay, November 30th deadline.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, city manager.
Keep mine brief. Did have Iowa League of Cities Legislative Policy Committee meeting this morning, getting geared up for the next legislative session, so I'm sure it'll be all good things. We are going to try and be more proactive in a way where it's, last year the focus was so much on reducing of revenues to cities and counties, but it was all about cutting property taxes. That was the focus. And so one of the things I pointed out today in our discussion is we need to switch the focus of we can be a partner in this if you help us make it cheaper to run a city. Don't add more regulation that makes it more costly to run a city. Don't make us spend $10,000 to publish in the newspaper when we have a website that can do the same thing. Like the newspaper, but don't like paying for it. Just different things like that. Help us focus on reducing the costs to operate a city, and we can pass on that savings. So that's that, along with a more active and vocal discussion among the league with our legislators as well.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Gary?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
How about over at the table? Everybody's shaking their, saying, okay.
Dreams of turkey.
Kirk?
Nothing, Mayor.
Ross?
Nothing, Mayor. Happy Thanksgiving.
And Steve Zittigruin?
Reminder to everyone who hasn't done it yet to fill out your worksheet for goal setting. I know that Travis sent out a reminder email, but that's important work that we do. I filled out mine today, and just since it's the week of Thanksgiving, it's incredible how much we've accomplished in the last 2 years from the priorities we set. That's a testament to the hard work of the people at this table, but especially a testament to our city's staff and their hard work, and just a profound expression of gratitude. And I'm sure others here echo the sentiment to each of you and the people who work with you to make all of this happen. It's been gratifying to just relish how much we've done together, and I look forward to finding a lot of new stuff for us to work on together for the next 2 years.
Okay. Steve Luce?
Yes, I wanted to express thanks for the many blessings that we've been given during this time of giving thanks. Senior Citizen Hospitality Center is amazing. Thank you for that work.
Thanks for helping us.
Happy to. We're mindful that it's a time of celebration, but also travel and safety needs to be happening, so don't drink and drive. And I'll go with the mayor and share that with the bars, okay?
How about you?
I'll just say happy Thanksgiving to everybody as well.
Emily?
I will echo my fellow council people's wishings of Thanksgiving, and especially a giant thanks for the fabulous staff that we get to work with, and all of the ways in which you make this job a lot easier. And also, Thanksgiving to my fellow council people, who I realize we don't always see eye to eye. And I know that there are plenty of times where my face gets red and I get really angry when things don't go my way, but every day I show up and you guys say things that make me think hard and fundamentally change how I view the world. And so thank you for all of that. And just a shout out, and I hope that I don't cry, but I do know that this time can be dark. But there is always light if you look for it. And even tonight in this meeting, I see light, and thank you for that.
Randy?
Just safe travels to everybody this weekend and enjoy your families. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Sorry, the last
Well,
2 years you've always.
I was
Yeah,
kind
I do,
of
but this year
waiting. I was
been
waiting
busy
for
with my new job, so I haven't been that involved. But sounds like everything is up and ready to go out at the campground. Next Wednesday will be the opening night, a walk-through night. So sounds like, or no, this Wednesday.
This way.
I was going to say, no,
That's
not
Wednesday night.
Yeah, it is the next one, but it is this week. So sounds like the weather's supposed to be pretty decent, so come on out. Every year the numbers have been climbing. And then starting Thursday night, it will be open for drive-through through Christmas. So, thank you.
If you haven't gone out the night on Wednesdays, you should go out. It's a lot of fun. It's very easy to move around. And it's fun to walk around, look at the lights. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you very much.